good evening, everyone. Gary Redmond here, and greetings and salutations. Welcome to episode 88 of New York Red Bulls Discussion Group, the podcast. So, we got a lot of things to talk about. I mean, man, there was a lot of soccer in the last 48 hours, a lot of cool stuff. But before we do that, we're going to introduce you, of course, to our special guest. Is James Briel from WFUV Sports. If you are very familiar in the New York area, if you ever went to Fordham University, yep, this is where they hail. And also one of our goaltenders, his name is Ryan Mara. He is a former Ram. And of course, we'll be talking about that. Of course, we're going to be talking more about that, about the match recap against Austin FC and New York Red Bulls on Wednesday and why that draw came at a price. More on that in a second. Of course, we can't forget, of course, the epic win on the road. It's something that they had to have versus DC United. And I was there live and in person, and let me tell you something, it was a lot of fun. There was a lot of craziness before, during, and after the match. Of course, after the break, we're going to deal with, which is arguably was going to be the game of the season, when the Chicago Fire invades Red Bull Arena. And since they're this close to making the playoffs, this is a match they need to win. Quick turnaround. On Wednesday, the Red Bulls then take on FC Cincinnati. That's going to be a tall assignment, but that's one of the two road wins they have to have, of course. Shortly after that, we're going to talk about Gotham FC doesn't play this week. They'll be playing on October 1st versus Houston Dash. But New York Red Bulls 2, they took on Philadelphia Union 2. Of course, naturally, the final word from our audience and live predictions of the upcoming games. And if you happen to miss this live show, which is happening right now, don't worry about it. The recording will be available on our YouTube channel and Spotify.com the very next day. You can also check out our previous episodes there as well. This is season 3, and all episodes will be uploaded before the end of the season. And finally, well, not quite finally, if you have any questions, comments, hot takes, suggestions, please send them our way at rbdgthepodcast@gmail.com. This is your show. We would appreciate you guys giving us comments. Of course, we want to make it better. Once again, our email address, rbdg@gmail.com. And finally, we want to wish out a big happy birthday shout out to two of our favorite people, Jay Glick and Annalise Mendoza. Happy birthday to you both, as you hope you out there celebrating your birthday with family and friends. And before we even get together, let us introduce two of my co-workers and, of course, our guest live and in color, Mr. James Briel, Lanre Badmus, the model, and, of course, the one, the only, Miguel Nunez. Before we even begin, this has been a week where it was good news, and then on Wednesday, bad news. For those of you who have missed the game on Wednesday night, the game ended in a 1-1 draw with Austin FC. During that match, we lost somebody permanently until 2024. And that gentleman, of course, is Dante Van Zier, which we all saw, got flipped over like a pizza and landed square on his back. Because of that, that injury has sidelined him for the remainder of the year. Would it be safe to say, James, that this was a debut season of hell for this guy?
I think hell would be a bit generous, frankly. I mean, off the field stuff aside, his play on the field wasn't good enough when it needed to be. And the goal count and however many games he ended up getting, I don't have the number in front of me, it wasn't enough for what we asked for him, for what we wanted from him. And that's the reality. Obviously, the injuries and the whole incident against San Jose played a big part in taking away from those goals and some of the momentum from him getting going. But he never did get going. And that was very detrimental to the team's performances this year and to this point. So for him to get a goal, ultimately an own goal, 7 minutes into that match, and then go down 6 minutes later, right when you need everybody to be firing on all cylinders, that was a terrible time for it. And I think, yeah, a season for hell is again, generous way to put it.
Lanre, you and I talked about this before, during in season. I even openly asked the question, was this guy ever healthy since he showed up? Well, you've had some very critical comments on Dante, and you did not hold back. So now that he's no longer with us until 2024.
Rest in peace.
I mean, well, don't stop there. I mean, go ahead, man. You got the floor. Rest in peace.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah. Well, yeah. Just like James said, yeah, he never got going for us. He was never able to produce at the level that we expected from him. Then again, if you look at his previous stuff at Union Saint-Gilloise, he was never the main guy. He was always partnering off with someone else, and one of his main partners is the very mazy dribbler Kaoru Mitoma.
Now oh my God!
Yeah, you told me about this dude.
He was partners with that guy.
Yeah.
Oh my God! We should have got that guy.
You're telling me, right? You're telling me.
Come on.
I actually got him for the Red Bulls in FIFA 21 career mode. Fun fact.
I have him on my EPL fantasy team. There you go.
Yeah, I think I have him too. But yeah, like Dante just never got going. There's a whole host of reasons why. He was asked to do something that he was never asked to do at any of his previous steps in his career. Just be the main guy, be the main goal scorer. And ironically, I think if he had Patrick Klimala as a partner instead of being Klimala's replacement, I think it could have fed off from each other really, really well. I think we talked about this last week. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case. And whatever you think about the San Jose incident, whoever he like allegedly called a monkey, whether it was a Caucasian referee or he used it in the vicinity of black players. Like I said before, very best he's social, culturally incompetent. That's a separate issue now. With this,
but go ahead.
The matter, it just. I want to give him another year, honestly, but this year has been a debut season that I think he'd want to just scrub from his memory completely. I think we all want to scrub that from our memory. That's one of the worst DP signings so far that I think I've ever seen.
Men in Black style. Here, look at the pen.
Exactly.
Let's start all over again. Miguel, the draw 1-1 versus Austin came when the team once again, and you said this more than once, have a habit of stepping off the gas. And this is the thing that frustrated you, me, and even everybody in the press box. They started out well. They did. They started out well. And then somehow they let Austin sneak in there with a goal. A team that had, last I checked, still the fourth worst defense in the league. How in the world does that happen, Miguel? Really?
Well, it's we were facing an Austin team that they had like a significant drop off from last year, and we were playing at home. That was the time to have them. Okay, it was unfortunate that Van Zier came down with that injury. And getting back to Van Zier, besides that incident, but he seemed like a man of glass. Okay, I think he came here and he was injured already. Okay, yeah. And then we had to wait for
which
him,
was my question and my comment.
Yeah.
Was this guy ever healthy?
He was when he was available, or when he was supposed to be available. A lot of times he was injured. Okay, and then I think he scored like 5 goals, and I think Klimala last year he scored like 5 goals as well. So the effectiveness of both it was like negligible. You know what? I just wanted to say I was listening to another New York Red Bulls podcast, and the host there called Christian Benteke of DC United like a massive flop. Okay. The dude has like 10 goals, man. I wish I had him.
Wish we had this guy.
I wish we had him.
I mean, we'll talk about him in a second, but we had to
but you know what?
Him.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you know what, Gary, man? Those were 2 points that we desperately needed, and we dropped at home against a not so good. Against a not so good Austin team, man. We would be in much better shape going into this stretch of games. We have Chicago, which is a must-win game, because I can't see us going to.
Doesn't want to say it.
Oh my God!
He always
Please,
hates
please,
cliches.
listen.
But
I'll tell it like it is. Never mind the coach. It's a must-win game. Okay, because if they don't win, that's it. It's over. Okay, I can't see us going into Cincinnati and getting anything out of there. Okay, I think we also have to go to Nashville as well. Okay, away.
Yeah, that's the grand finale.
Yeah. Okay. So then
before we head off to Nashville, basically the schedule, if you look at it, Miguel, it's Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday, Wednesday, back to back to back to back. So they're gonna run this, they're gonna run this end of the season pretty quickly.
These guys better start scoring, man. Okay. I was listening to that coach. I was listening to that coach call like Tommy Barlow like one of the best number 9s in the league.
You heard that, didn't you?
Yeah, because
we were there when he said that, Garry.
We were there when James and I were there when he said it. And I want to tell you something. Hold on. The minute he said it, you weren't there at Yankee Stadium when he said it, but almost every reporter looked at each other and said quietly, because we didn't want it to be, we just like, if you say so. I mean, that was classic. It was like, oh my God, if you say so. I have nothing against Barlow. I have nothing. I've watched this guy play and come up in the system from New York Red Bulls too. My issue with Barlow is where he's playing in this position. Okay, where the coach basically wants him to do. He basically wants to come off the bench or start just running at everybody. Well, that's his strength. Okay, the guy's got a lot of motor. He reminds me of another baller who had a lot of motor, who's now enjoying his wonderful time in Nashville. The thing with, and I've said this 1,000 times, the dude can score if you put a pass right dead center at his, right there to plate. You can't miss with this guy. And he bangs him in. It has to be a pinpoint pass. Unfortunately, we have midfielders that can't seem to do that. We have midfielders that can't seem to string passes together. We all know this. So he is I call him an accidental tourist because he does have the skill set, but not the will and everything. Plus, we have another forward, which I thought it was a great signing at first, and we all know with Corey Burke, his problem was 2 left feet. And then, of course, we have the wonderful Elias Manuel. I like the kid, works hard, tries to get into spaces, but whenever he needs to be pulling the trigger, he's like Mr. Magoo. He can't hit the barn to save his life. So those are your forwards you have left. That's it. James, you look at this roster. We've seen this roster. We've written about it, complained about it quietly, of course, and the whole 9 yards. Okay. Let's fast forward to training camp in February. What are you expecting to see? What are you hoping to see?
Oh, well, I know that when I try to say I hope to see this happen for the New York Red Bulls between seasons, that generally doesn't come to pass. But ideally, what we see is not only another player to play up front next to Dante Van Zier. Ideally, you'd bring in another playmaking midfielder as well who can create these chances. Because as much as I love guys like Luquinhas and Omir Fernandez, who especially Omir has taken such big strides this year, to have him shoulder the burden of chance creation is not fair to him. And Luquinhas hasn't gotten it done.
On a long term, please. Omir Fernandez needs to be signed.
You better get a contract.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Absolutely.
I don't know where we'd be without that kid, man. Okay, come on.
I've already penciled him in as my MVP for the season, honestly, along with Coronel.
I think it'd be really hard to pick anybody else but Omir.
Exactly. There's no other choice.
And
let's call it right now. Okay.
Yeah. And that itself is the issue, because Omir Fernandez is a terrific player, but he cannot be the focal point of this team's attack. And quite frankly, he has been, and he's been put into an uncomfortable position where he has to pull more weight than he's capable of. And that's not fair to him when guys like Luquinhas are on 2 goal contributions across MLS all season long. And while we know the skill set's there, he's the player of the year for Legia Warsaw, who's a perennial Champions League team in Europe, pretty much. He's not gotten it done because maybe the tools aren't there around him. Yes, the squad creation, we haven't gotten the perfect players to play the system, but it's been 5 years now. It's been since the Jesse Marsh era where this system has looked good.
Okay.
I'm starting to believe maybe we have to stop finding players who fit this system, and we have to get good players and create a system of cohesion around them.
I mean, Miguel, you just gave Miguel a Christmas present.
Let's not play the system.
I think it's time.
Football.
That's correct.
The system is just dumb. It's silly.
And look, I think I love playing a high press. I love that identity. You can keep that as long as you want, but you don't have to pigeonhole players into playing roles that they're not comfortable with.
No, you don't.
And I think that's what this team has done, unfortunately, with managers who haven't really gotten to get to do everything they wanted to do. I was very critical of Gerhard Struber, but he definitely didn't have the full reins to create the team that he wanted to make in 2 years and change.
For the record, he asked for it, and he was told to shut up. I mean, this is the thing that drove everyone nuts. Yet they wanted to throw garbage time, with Struber. And to be honest, Lanre, most of it deserved. But when when your coach asks for weapons and don't get, and then expects them to do something that it can't be done, and look where he's doing now in Salzburg. Now, granted, Salzburg is not, Salzburg is not one of the heavyweights in the Red Bull soccer umbrella. Okay, hey, it's 17-time champions in the Austrian league, where it's just, but they dominated.
By the way, mega Farmers League.
Right. But here's the thing. What are you supposed to do in Farmers League? You dominate. And that's basically what they've made it Red Bull Salzburg and friends. And if that doesn't put a feather on your cap, I don't know what.
Somehow.
People were thinking the very same thing. You think so, Lanre? When he first came? I mean, this was what so when people say the system doesn't work, my argument is, James, Miguel, Lanre, how do you explain what the hell's going on in Salzburg? How do you explain everything in Leipzig, which is right now our fan base's favorite target? Okay, and how do you explain what's going on with the Bragantino boys?
Okay,
it's working.
But look, listen.
So what the question is? What's going on in Harrison?
In Salzburg, right?
Okay, hold on. Let Miguel finish. Go ahead.
Okay, in Salzburg, if you look at that league, there's teams besides Red Bull Salzburg. They're not buying these big stars, man. Okay, no. It's mostly about them like getting no names or bringing up guys from their academy and selling. That's how they're keeping afloat. Red Bull Salzburg is able to bring in, a high-level player for that league, high-level players for that league, okay? And that's why it's working there, okay? And a bunch of those guys get sold elsewhere. I mean, they sold – yeah, Erling Haaland, was over there, and then he got sold to Dortmund, and then when he gets sold to Man City, the club in Austria gets a percentage of that sell-on. That's what they do. Okay, they a lot of times they'll sell guys to like the German league or whatever, and they can make the money, and they can keep themselves, above everybody else, because none of these other teams, they're not getting Messi or Carlos Vela or whoever, Lucas Zelarayan, Hani Mukhtar, okay? Yeah, so that's what it is. It's not the same here. That's why it doesn't work here, okay? Especially when you're getting Drew Yearwood, Corey Burke, Wiki Carmona. Give me an... Okay, that's it. I'm going to stop right there, okay?
No. I mean, just in addition to your question, would you say it's more of the personnel running the team than the players themselves, than the system? Push the system aside for just a second. Some of the players that you just mentioned that this team signed, okay, some of them have been hits. Yeah. Most of them have been misses. So we have to take a hard look, of course, at this, the sporting director. We have two of them. I always have a feeling if you have two sporting directors, you have none.
Yeah, most definitely. Gary, let me just tell. I think we spoke about this before.
I've taken a lot of heat from that statement, believe it or not, for the guys in the front office. But but I'm gonna stand by it. I'm like, okay, what have you done lately? I mean, but we're looking at Twitter videos from 2015 when this team used to dominate, and people are wondering when are we going to get back to that? Okay, go ahead, Miguel.
Gary, just look at the DPs that have been signed in recent years. Well, we'll have to look at Jorgensen. Remember Jorgensen? That guy was a DP.
Goodness.
Okay, he spent most of his time at Red Bull.
That should have been a fireable offense.
Klimala.
Fireable.
Okay. Drew Yearwood is a DP. Come on, man. Compare. No, he's a DP.
He was. He's not anymore.
So he was a DP, not anymore. Okay. Right. But I mean, you compare those guys and look what other teams are signing. Do they even compare?
I can't argue.
Is Luquinhas amongst like the top 20 DPs in this league? I can't say that he is, man. Come on.
If I might jump in, Luquinhas is interesting because his resume to that point could have been someone who came in and was as impactful as a Hani Mukhtar, as a Daniel Gazdag, is one of those types of guys. And he hasn't been that. And I think you give a lot of these signings 2 years to develop, get used to Major League Soccer, really see how they've done. And this is Luquinhas' second year. And I think he hit the ground running this first 2-3 months for the Red Bulls. Ever since, he's been a dud. I tried it.
But if I may jump in, I think that you might see it that way because he doesn't have the supporting cast, man. Okay? I think a big reason why he came in firing on all cylinders, he had like Lewis Morgan.
He had Morgan
right there. Okay? And, Morgan on the left. So you got to you have to have players like that.
Morgan
for somebody.
On the left, Caden Clark on the right. So he had options.
Caden Clark was hot when he first got into this league. So I think it's the supporting cast more than the player itself. If any player, really good player is not fitting into the system, I think it's Luquinhas, man. Because I fully expect if he had better players around him, he'd be better. Okay, for us.
To James's point, let me just jump in here. To James's point, I tend to agree with both of you, Miguel, James, both of you. The thing with Luquinhas right now, he's being exposed. Okay, he's one of the guys that gets fouled in the box a lot. Okay, defenders zero in on him because they know what he can do. He's the type of guy that if you let him loose, he's going to do damage on you. And so when he didn't have anyone to shield off on, he doesn't have, he doesn't have Morgan Lewis anymore. Caden Clark is gone. You got rid of, Caceres for some unnamed reason. I don't know yet. Maybe he wasn't happy, whatever the case may be. He's been the missing man. So he has no one to dish the rock to, no one willing to dish the rock, worthy to dish the rock to, except for Omir Fernandez, who have stepped up. Now, those two has been a very good pairing thus far. But as you say, when you got your midfielders, of course, doing all the lead, doing all the heavy lifting offensively, you have to wonder what's going on with your forwards. And none of our forwards, none of them, all of these guys are milk cartons. This, on top of the season that on top of the season that you're having, there's a little wonder why fans are just simply livid right now, because there was a lot of expectations coming up for this season, and every single one of them, save for one, fell short, way short, which is probably the reason why Marc de Grandpré made the statement about, well, next year we're going to sign some players. Now, everybody heard it. I got people asking me, telling me this was fake or not. No, he actually put it on Twitter. And so my question at this point to all three of you, and including everyone in the live audience, good evening, everyone. Are they going to follow through with this, or is this just simply just more smoke and mirrors?
Well, yeah, you know what? I think they're going to follow through, and they've already started by signing Yerry Mina's brother. Okay, all right. So I think that's the way we're going to go. All right. Go ahead. Someone else. Yeah.
All right.
Lanre, your turn.
Lanre, please. Yeah.
Okay, so here's my take.
Oh,
and it's
boy.
definitely going to be more scathing. It's going to be even a little more scathing than yours. And that was pretty funny, Mickey. But
Thank you. I try. Yeah.
Yeah. If I can back that up, I gotta say that it depends. If we still have these other clowns in the front office, Dennis Hamlet, Jokic Schneider, if we somehow still have them in 2024, this team is not spending a single dime on anyone who's worth a damn. But if both of those guys, and I have to say, both of these guys need to be gone, kicked out of the door. If both these guys are gone, then maybe I could say, okay, yeah, maybe we're actually going to spend on players who are worth a damn. Because I think a lot of the Kiyasa struggles. Yeah, he doesn't have Lewis Morgan. He also doesn't have a proper number 10 to play off of who could spray passes out.
Nope.
No, they're not.
Haven't had one since Sacha.
Please, I've been calling
Haven't
that
had one since
forever.
Sacha.
A full midfield benefits from having
Nope.
a number 10, like a Sacha Preston, like a Kaku in his first half season when he was on pace to break the single season MLS assist record before the
something went wrong.
Had to replace Jesse mid-season and completely killed his creativity for the next 2.5 years. We don't have a player like that for some reason. Since Kaku left, we have not bothered signing a player of that caliber. Remember when he first got here, he was flying in his first couple months. I was saying he was better than Kaku. Now I cannot reasonably say that with a straight face. But he also does not have. This team does not have the proper number 10 it needs. If we have a proper number 10, I'd say our midfield would link up a lot better. I'd say our forwards would be scoring a lot more. I'd say Dante would have probably had a better debut season. May have had like 6 goals or something up to this point, at least before his injury. And just the whole team would be clicking better, and I think would be comfortably above the playoff line. This team needs a proper number 10 first and foremost. We need an actual right back because Kyle Duncan is not the answer. And that is very clear now. Look at his.
Kyle Duncan, as much as I like him, because he's a Brooklyn kid. Kyle Duncan, as much as I think he's a Brooklyn kid, but he's a bench player. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I mean, try to convince me. He's a bench player. James, it's wacky that the focus on this team is basically the lack of the offense, but no one has really spoke about the team's defense, which is decent despite it all. Are there missing pieces there in your opinion, or are they setting it right, or they can do better? Honestly,
we can definitely do better. We just singled out our starting right back from the last few matches, who we can all agree is not a starting right back at this level. Cameron Harper has been. I've used the word revelation to describe his play at right back. I think he's been a player who I wouldn't commit to him long term as a right back because that's just not his natural position. No, but he's been very serviceable.
Like everybody else,
absolutely. Right. He's been very serviceable there, and I've loved his game. Yeah, and another guy, Harper. Absolutely, you have to commit to a guy like Harper, who's been like Fernandez, stepping up when you needed him to be, just doesn't have enough help around him. And these issues from before the season started, where everyone thought we had a great offseason, but the one issue we haven't addressed is depth in the center back position.
Bingo.
And I think that you could still fill the void there with another player. Andres Reyes is not going to be in the New York Red Bull for forever. And he's been – and that's going to be a very –
I don't think he's going to be here next year.
Sooner rather than later. And that's going to be a big,
I think
loss.
He's gone. I think he's gone by final whistle. He's gone by final whistle.
Think, yeah.
That's very realistic.
So that's what I'm hearing. He's gone by final whistle. He's done.
Sean Nealis has earned his doing as the center back and as the captain, and Hassan Ndam has been great off the bench. But I worry about trusting him long-term with a full season at the MLS level. You have to bring in at least one starting center back, especially if Reyes goes, and perhaps even another one to shoulder some extra minutes off the bench with Hassan Ndam. But and look, the left back position is also going to be interesting in a matter of moments too, because we know who plays there every minute of every match. He's not going to be a New York Red Bull sometime in 2024 next year, whether it's in the summer or in the offseason. Looks like it's going to be in the offseason. So they've going to have holes in the team that they're going to have to address pretty quickly, in addition to getting, I would say, another goal scorer up front and another creative playmaker in midfield, because these are things that you have to be competitive in Major League Soccer these days.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Daniel Edelman, which to me, honestly, has stepped up his game tremendously. And it's funny how not a lot of folks talk about him as much, but then when you pair him with Frankie Amaya, it kind of takes me back to the days when we had Dax and Felipe. And that's pretty, that's the best compliment I can give those two. Are they replaceable guys, or you keep them there to let them grow?
You know what? I think Edelman has to be with us for another season at the very least, okay? Frankie Amaya too. But let me just say regarding Frankie Amaya, like this past game, he looked like an all-star, okay? And then there's games where he's crap, okay?
He's not
so
consistent.
It's very inconsistent, I take that Frankie Amaya.
Consistently inconsistent is one of our tag words around here.
And let me tell you something else. Like those holes that James pointed to, they need to be addressed. Okay, we've talked about how statistically our defense is like one of the best in the league. It might have been like a second. It was something like that. But you just take a look at this DC game, man. They gave up 3 goals. Okay,
by one guy.
To one guy. Okay,
by one guy.
We're lucky that DC sucks, and we could score 5 goals on them. As a matter of fact, Gary, I say these guys have to petition the league so we can play DC every week. Okay, yeah, okay. Please.
Hey, we swept it which is probably the reason why I wear my Metro Star shirt today. That's to celebrate. This is my cigar. Okay, like hey, it's very rare I get to be a fan this season, sitting in the press box.
Yeah.
But the reason why I'm wearing that. But let's talk about that a little bit. Of course, DC United losing to New York Red Bulls 5-3. Benteke on the 21st, 36th, 45th. And, of course, Fernandez, who scored the first goal on 17th and the 44th in penalty. Harper with his on the 45th, 5 minutes in the extra time. Nealis in the 50th, a nice little header. And Tolkien, who basically ended it all in the 90th minute and jumped in, in front of the road supporters who traveled all that way in the wet and everything else. The one stat that really stings out to me is that the number of shots that were made by the Red Bulls, 20, okay? They were peppering the net left and right. It's not like it was a lack of trying. The other thing that impressed me about this game, they didn't quit, guys, at all. They were trying to, at will, walk out of that building with points. They didn't care how. They just said, look, it's like somebody drew a line in the turf and said, okay, this is it. We either rock on or we go home. So I asked the question, well, on behalf of my fellow gentlemen here, does the match impress the fan base? In other words, we like to call them the Furious Faithful. James, I'm going to start with you as the guest. Did it impress you or no?
I would say it impressed me, and just the way that they reacted. Not that it was a great exemplar of Red Bull football and that they closed down all the space and won everything off the press. No, they created goals in pretty different ways than we're used to. They were pretty lethal in the set pieces, in large part due to DC being terrible defensively. And this is now 2 games in a row the Red Bulls have conceded on set pieces too, against Austin and now DC.
Which should be a concern. I mean,
especially because we talked to JMI Tolkien after the match on Wednesday, and he specifically said we wanted to address that before the game. We didn't. We have to moving forward. So that didn't impress me. But what did impress me was the fact that they got goals from sheer will. They wanted to score goals, and they did. It wasn't about scoring spectacular team goals or spectacular team goals from the press.
Don't care if it makes a Sports Center or a highlight film or whatever the case may. Look, we want to walk out of here with a win. Lanre, impressed or no?
Yes, and I don't know if I'm more impressed with the fact that we actually scored 5 goals, or more impressed with the fact that DC's defense really is just that stinking garbage. Do you know how sorry you have to be to allow the New York Red Bulls, of all teams on the planet of football, to score 5 goals on you in 2023 at home? At home? Bro, like just fold and liquidate. Just liquidate immediately. Oh my god. I was going straight. I almost went on the bus actually to DC. I decided to stay home because of the rain and everything.
Wait. I thought, okay, you made this manifesto. This is my last game, or we're not, not sitting in another thing ever
Free, the
again.
bus
But
was
you
free.
want,
The
but
bus was
okay,
free. The bus
okay,
was free. I
okay,
almost took it.
okay,
I
okay,
decided to stay
okay,
home because of the rain and everything. All
okay,
right. Um,
okay,
so I
okay.
just watched it at home with my pops in the living room, and I was like going from like raging, from like happy when we took the lead, to raging when Benteke was destroying us, to absolutely ecstatic. Let me tell you, Cam Harper's goal to make it 3-3 just before halftime, I think that was a turning point. DC went into that locker room deflated, and it showed in the second half. We took control. We took the bull by the horns, and boom, we came away we came away with a massive victory. I hate to bring this up. This is like an old game. It's like 12 years ago, but it definitely had Arsenal versus Chelsea at the bridge 2011 vibes, when I think Van Persie hit that hat trick after Miguel. I think you remember that
Mm.
game, after like that was Van Persie's last season at Arsenal. Early in that season, you guys were down I think a couple times in that game and ended up winning 5-3 at the bridge.
Thank you very much. I remember that game. Yes.
Of course you do. I know you. I would be surprised if you didn't. It had those derby. It was the Atlantic Cup derby. It's always great to beat DC. I saw us beat them 1-0 last month here at home, and I also saw us beat them in the Open Cup. So we completely swept them in all competitions this year, and that's a great feeling.
Miguel, impressed or not even close?
No, well, you know what? Anytime that my team scores 5 goals, I'll celebrate like a maniac, which I did. Okay. But then, after, and it's against DC. Okay. Which makes it like double, that if we were like beating up on Houston or whatever, But, you have to keep in mind that DC is like total garbage this year. Okay. And we're giving up 3 goals against DC. Come on. What do you think how do you think we're going to fare at Cincinnati? Okay. I mean,
So basically, what you're saying is they had to save some goals for Cincinnati.
listen,
I agree with I agree with you on that.
So you know what? Like this week coming up is a must-win against Chicago. It's going to be a must-win against Toronto. And I'm hoping that we can take just one of the last 2 games at Cincinnati and at Nashville. I don't even know if that'll give us enough points. Yeah. You guys would know better. I don't know.
Let me set the stage for everybody here. What this win is, why that win versus DC is huge. Because of that, the Red Bulls are now sitting in 11th place. They have 30 games played. They have 4 to go. They have 34 points. As of this moment, they are sitting just, 3 points away from New York City, who won, by the way, who leapfrogged everybody, and now they claim the 9th spot, the very last spot. They're right over a point over DC United.
Thanks,
the good news, right? The good news out of all this, okay, we have a game in hand on both of those squads, both DC United and New York City. They played 31 games. Red Bulls have 30. Everybody else is what we should be concerned about. Chicago is right now tied with us, but underneath us in goal difference. Charlotte, who got killed by Cincinnati, is sitting in 13th place. They have 33 points. Inter Miami, who had a chance to leapfrog everybody, somehow allowed Orlando to score an equalizer late in the game, and they stay put at 32. And then there's Toronto. Well, the reason why I like to tease Toronto a lot, because like everybody wants the Red Bulls to do, spend money on big names and everything, but they're at the bottom of the table, literally. So it's not necessarily how much you spend, but who you spend. And on top of that, two Italian nationals that hate each other. So imagine what that locker room is going to be like when you go in there and dagger eyes at each other.
Oh, they got beef.
Huh?
Insigne and Bernardeschi got beef, really?
Yeah, they got beef. They got beef. Almost every game, these guys said, Bernardeschi wants out. It's been reported that he wants out. He doesn't want anything to do with Insigne. There's nothing to do with him. He said, look, I'm done with this guy. Get me out of here. I'd love to have him with us. But then there is such thing as, I would love it if this team would poach Bernardeschi from this thing. Oh, would that be lovely? But that's where it stands right now. Chicago is a huge game if they want to take another step. Problem with this team that James, Lanre, Miguel, even everybody in the live audience have seen all year long, this team has a propensity to play to the teams lower than them in the standings level in such maddening fashion. That cannot happen Saturday night if they want to make the playoffs for the 14th time. So before we go to break and say goodbye to James because he has something to do, let's just put this succinctly. Do you guys feel that making the playoffs? I don't feel that making the playoffs is a successful season. Do you?
No.
I mean, I can't say it's successful for the terms of where this club wants to be, but in this given moment,
they set the standard. They set the standard. So it's not even close.
No, it's not close. But look, if you ask me right now, there's 4 matches left in this season. If they make the playoffs, I would be through the moon. I would be through the roof. Would love it.
Lanre?
I actually do have to agree with that. Yeah, in the grand scheme of things, usually just making the playoffs alone is not a success. But because the standard of our club has fallen so far, especially this season, it's almost hit rock bottom. So, yeah, if we somehow made the playoffs by the skin of our teeth, I'd be ecstatic. I would be ecstatic because we're kind of playing with house money at this point. But I also like how possible.
2 words I hate using along with the team. Go ahead.
A Red Bulls playoff berth might mean the elimination of both New York City Football Club and DC United. So
and Miami.
If those guys don't get postseason soccer and we do, I will be especially happy.
Oh, I would be such a troll.
They would burn. They would really be burnt. That's definitely troll-worthy banter right there. Miguel, so you literally set the bar pretty high when it comes to this organization and this team in regards to the playoffs. You and I are old school. We don't really care about playoffs too much. It's how far you go in them that matters. So despite everything, your thoughts if they do make it.
Okay, yeah. So then if we make the playoffs, we'd win that all-important making the playoffs trophy. Okay. Yeah, because how important the mythical trophy of making the playoffs. Okay. And you know what? I think somebody this past week, there was a post by our friend, I think it was Marco, and he was talking about, how this is the goal in all sports. I go, no. The goal in sports is to win the championship, man. You never see like these Yankee fans up, like, dancing because they made the playoffs.
No, I'm a Yankee fan. We don't care about that. It's World Series or bust.
Yeah, exactly. This is why, look, MLS Cup or bust right here. Okay, because I want to win
we ain't
it
playing
all,
in October.
man.
It don't matter.
Yeah, I want to win it all, and then if we just scrape into the playoffs, I think we have to play in that play-in game, right?
Yeah,
we have to. Yeah. So we have to get past that, and then we'd be on the road. I think,
which is ridiculous. Which is kind of ridiculous. The survivor takes on the team with the number 1 seed.
Yeah,
that would be Cincinnati. Good luck with that after tired legs and whatnot.
Yeah, I mean, if we were to go all the way and win it all, it would be the biggest miracle in sports history. Okay,
I wouldn't care. I wouldn't care if the
What?
pundits. I wouldn't care if the pundits took it not took us seriously.
Yeah.
Seattle over Toronto in where they won when they won MLS Cup without even firing a shot. Okay, so
Yeah,
there you go.
exactly.
The banter was all over the place. James, as always, please don't be a stranger the next time you come around. You're always welcome to have fun with the gentleman. But before you go, kindly, we know that you do play-by-play with the folks over with the Fordham Rams with see, here I go again with the call with the calls. I've having problems with this all day long. But as a beat writer for them, kindly please tell the fans right now, especially our listeners, what they don't know, what you've seen this year about this team.
What they don't know. I think it's a great way to phrase that, because I think we often forget sometimes, and this is what being a beat reporter has kind of opened my eyes to, is the humanization of these players. I grew up as a diehard fan of this team, and I've only just started to cover them for 2 years. And you got to remember,
7 for
these
me.
people,
The same.
yeah, these people are people. And
Right.
while I grew up watching idealized versions of Thierry Henry, Dax McCarty in my head, and I thought these guys were incredible people, and you levy criticism towards them, and I still do that as part of the job, but you have to remember that these people are people. And I think most importantly, the introduction of Troy Lesane has especially reminded me how important it is to be a good man manager and be a good person around your team. Because Troy, I cannot say enough good things about his character. The guy who came before him was maybe didn't care about those things so much. I'll leave it at that.
Cared about winning.
And that's true. That's true. Winning is still the most important thing, of course, at the professional level. But you have to remember, people are people. And I've really gotten to get to know some of the guys involved around the clubs, the players and coaches, and I've really been impressed with a lot of the character of the people at this club. And I know we like to criticize a lot of these guys a lot too. Some of it is very earned. But I especially love the way that Troy, and this could be controversial, stood up for Tom Barlow when that question was asked at Yankee Stadium. Because while some of what he said probably shouldn't have been said the way he did, one of the best nines in the league, I disagree with that. But I think to get behind your player like that, as we both know, the reporter who asked Michael Batista was a very valid, very important question that you want the coach to be able to answer in public. And I think Troy and Michael understood that about each other. And that quote was very powerful, because that's the type of player a coach you want to play for as a player, one who stands by you, one who supports you. So while we levy our criticism, while we point things out here and there, I think it's important we have to remember that these are just people trying their best, and they're trying their best for us as fans. And I've really gotten to appreciate that, being close to the club.
You can follow James Briel on WFUV. Try saying that 9 times fast on the radio side. As I believe that the Fordham Rams are playing right now during the season. So if you want to catch a play-by-play, and he does a great job. I've listened to a couple of games. He's pretty good, folks. Give him a listen, and of course, you can always catch him there. James, on behalf of the gentleman, Lanre, Miguel, and myself, thank you so much for joining us. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about predictions. And, of course, there's one game after the Chicago match, which is FC Cincinnati, also an importance. And, of course, New York Red Bull 2, they played against Philadelphia Union 2. Unfortunately, it did not end so well. But the good news is they're in the playoffs. So we're going to be back in about 30 seconds. Sit tight. All right, James was fantastic as advertised. We had to switch the format a little bit because he had to take care of something else, so he was very gracious to join us. But now, as we say, we get back to work, gentlemen. There are some matches that we need to keep a focus on. Of course, Chicago Fire. They're coming in, well, as a desperate side. And this is a match that they simply need to win. As I mentioned before, the Chicago Fire now sit in 12th place, basically just below us on scoring differential, minus 13 versus minus 7 for us. Plain and simple, Lanre, this is a match they cannot afford to drop points.
No, cannot. Absolutely imperative that we need all 3 points on Saturday. Chicago, as you said, they're tied with us. Everything except goal difference. We have the exact same record, but we have the edge on goal difference. We are very, it's like Lisa just said in the in the comment section. We're very fortunate that this match happens to be against Chicago. I think if it was against anyone,
careful what you wish for.
We'd be in a lot of trouble.
This team can score where we can't. But go ahead.
I just can't believe that we're actually saying after everything, after how awful this season has been, we actually have something of a sliver of a shot at making the playoffs. We just have to take care of business against Chicago. We cannot let our guards down. We cannot concede from set pieces. We have to tighten up set piece defense. We have to actually create chances, and we have
defense. Coach said that a lot.
We need a repeat, maybe not a repeat of 5 goals against DC. That's not a sustainable pace at all. We need to actually take our chances, be clinical with them, be ruthless with them. We need to actually give ourselves a fighting chance at making the playoffs, surviving American relegation, and it'd be pretty cool to condemn Chicago too.
Miguel, you're laughing, but go ahead, man. On top of that rebuttal, which you're about to hit us with, who the players that the Rebels need to watch out for? Because last I checked, there's a dude by the name of Shaqiri.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say that Shaqiri. I've been a fan of this guy for a bunch of years, man. He was playing in Germany, and he was just the type of player that I love. He's got the trickery, he's got the skill. Okay, I would say he's Messi light. Okay, but still, I'd love to have a player like that on the team. And they have a guy by the name of Kai Kamara. Okay. 39 years old. 39 years old.
And still banging in goals, especially from set pieces.
Banging in goals.
Right.
Okay.
He terrorized the Red Bulls the last time they faced them in set pieces. Terrorized them. I mean,
I take him over the 3 guys that we have left. How about that? Okay. But no, come on. Yeah, easily. Come on. So you know what? We have to watch out because this is a must-win game. If we don't win this game, we have no chance in hell of picking up points against the remaining 3 teams and make the playoffs. No, come on, Garry. Realistically, we have to win this game.
Okay? I agree with you, but
I
was about to mention. I agree with you, but I was about to mention that I almost had an argument with someone on the discussion group where I plainly said, look, in order for us to feel good about where we need to be, it needs to be settled. We need to win out. Sorry, we need to sweep. We need to sweep it all. All 4 games have to end in victories. I was told 7. I don't know. Leaving any points, let alone 1. Remember, we have 2 teams behind us with a game a hand on us. One of them is Miami. The other is Charlotte. Now, the good news is that those 2 teams play each other twice. Okay, they have a home and home, so they may cancel things out. We'll see.
No,
that's none of that.
That's 6 points to Miami, Garry. Come on.
Right.
No, I'm telling you that right now. That's a guarantee. Charlotte's not going.
It's 6 points for Miami right there, Garry. Go ahead.
I mean, that's and you illustrated my point.
Yeah.
So the thing is here, if somehow we capture all 9 points, think about this. 3, 6, now all 12 points. Excuse me. There's a good chance we finish higher than 9th, where we be in a position where either we can't drop or no one can catch us. That's the good news. Now, I'm wondering why I'm talking about playoffs all the time. Hey, it's the one thing that's the one bright spot we have left. in this ridiculous, dismal season. I mean, even if we're going to have a cameo appearance just to get knocked out, hey, at least we extended the season to 2 games instead of just 1. The other match, of course, we want to talk about here because Gotham FC does not play until October 1st. They have a home game versus the Houston Dash. They're on their way to making the playoffs themselves. Unlike us, they have a much more solid footing. Go see the girls play on Sunday. Please do that. New York Red Bull 2 just wrapped up their MLS Next Pro circuit with a game against Philadelphia Union 2. And if you think I hate us losing to the Union in any cases, well, we lost to, we lost to Philadelphia Union 2. And guess who scored? I'm going to leave you a guess at this point.
Who scored for Philadelphia Union 2? I don't even know.
Well, okay. Well, Jeremy Raffanello. Remember him?
Oh, yeah. Former Red Bulls.
Former Red Bull, too.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been licking our chops and slaying us ever since he went back home, so to speak. He scored a goal in the 20th minute. Hugo Lagamic on the 45th, 1 minute in. And, of course, Julian Hall scored for the Red Bulls.
Yeah.
Voila. So that kid, I mean, he punched his ticket. He signed his account. So hopefully this is the start of something, something good for this kid. I got high hopes on this kid. David Vasquez, pretty much told everyone to shut up after that. So the season is done for New York Red Bulls 2. Their next match actually will be taking place, of course, in the playoffs. And I'm looking at the standings here. Just give me a minute. We'll be playing 4th place team, I believe. They finished 4th, not 3rd. And they'll be taking on either the 5th seed or the 6th seed. I'll update everyone after the show. Okay, well, it didn't take long. Here's Lisa Fatino. I want everyone in the discussion group want to know. I want when everyone in the discussion group is smoking. People are all adamant there's a real hope we might win Saturday and the 7th, but that's the end of our points of the season. I can see us. I can see us thinking. Argue against that logic. I can't.
Yeah. Okay. I can see us getting 6 more points.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that enough? Is 6 more points enough? Tell me right now, Garry.
Is 6 more points enough?
Yeah. I don't think it is.
With Miami chasing us? No.
Yeah, it's not. But plus we're already down 3 points from the next team up. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
that's why I said
I'm gonna have to agree with Lisa.
Okay? That's why I said, and that's why I mentioned we got to get 12. Short of 12, you ain't making it, and you're leaving the door wide open for either Miami or Charlotte to
Garry,
pass you. Go ahead.
But Garry, ask yourself: is that realistic? Okay.
No,
we have to go away against Cincinnati, and we have to go away at Nashville. Okay, come on.
No, that's 2 teams. Okay, that's 2 teams where I have low expectations for us to do anything in. The only thing that gives me a glimmer of hope is that with the exception of the Philadelphia game, which was an outright debacle, okay, all the other matches, they were fighting. They were really into it. Okay, Philly was the one that just simply said, "You scored a goal, nice." Excuse me, where I bitch slap you around the park a little bit. Okay, and that's basically what they did, and that was the game that set me off. I mean,
that was the game, Garry. We should have been 2 up because Van Zier missed a sitter. Go ahead.
Right. I mean,
it's just
Well, there you go.
I mean, that set me off a little bit. That was the before that. New England was the one that had me grinding my axe. Remember that?
Yeah.
Okay, I was pretty ticked off about that. Okay, right. After that, I was swinging it. And everybody, I was like, "What the hell is this?" I mean, it comes down to this. I mean, I'm gonna leave this final question. I mean, before we get to predictions, dire as it may be, let's ask our live audience, and they've been fantastic tonight. First of all, thank you guys so much for joining us. Let me ask you guys this. Would you prefer the team not make the playoffs?
Yeah, this question was asked on the discussion group, Garry, at some point,
Right.
and there might be some validity to the team. If the team doesn't make the playoffs, ownership will have to wake up. Okay.
Yeah.
Because
that's assuming that that's a big assumption.
Because if the team avoided American relegation, okay,
another phrase we want to put on. That's two phrases we want to put on t-shirts.
Yeah, if the team avoided American relegation, it might send a message to the higher ups that look, Ma, we're successful. Okay,
consistently inconsistent and American regulation.
And some people seem to think, like in that discussion group, some people seem to think that that's a successful season. We made the playoffs, I find myself in the twilight zone sometimes. We're like, wait a minute. I want to win the freaking MLS Cup, man.
Which is probably the reason why I refuse to buy any Red Bull gear. It's my thought is this, okay? When everyone says, I want this team to miss the playoffs so quote unquote Red Bull can wake up.
No,
okay.
I want them to win. Go ahead.
Yeah, let me finish. Okay. That's assuming that Red Bull Global, is saying, okay, I've seen enough. Okay, somebody in charge is saying, okay, I've seen enough. This whatever that's happening in Harrison ain't working. Okay, we can't sell enough tickets because people refusing to come to our beautiful arena. Nobody is scared of us on the field. We don't know what we're doing. We're about to put shovels in the ground in a fantastic a new training facility. We've already reaffirmed our intention to stay in this market. Okay. It's time to step up with the big boys. And what I mean by that was once upon a time, everyone knows this. Once upon a time, this club was dominating. This club was rolling. Okay. All the fans want this club to do is to go back to that. Go back to the point where every season, it's not a question of if we win MLS Cup, but when. And every time the league adds another team, as they will next season, San Diego is supposed to come online. I'm not sure if it was next season or the season after next. Winning the cup gets harder, real harder. Okay. Instead of 10 teams you had to fight through to win MLS Cup, now you're one of 30. Good luck. Okay. It means that, and the way the league is structured, any one of those squads can pick up the trophy.
Yeah, well, the thing
logic saying at least it's from the fans' view. I'm speaking from the fans' view, not just everybody in the discussion group, especially for the fans' view. We should be basically top 3 every season. Top 3.
Listen, Garry, the thing about that is like every time
that's the standard.
Well, every time they add new teams, they add more playoff spots. Okay, so there you go. But
I really don't like it when they do that. It just cheapens. It just makes the regular season meaning. Yeah, it just makes the regular season meaning. I mean, honestly, I wish they just leave it at 4 for each conference. 4. That's it. Yeah.
Garry,
fight your way to the end. 4.
Garry, I wish they had.
Then you're gonna have there'll be no doubt who are the best teams fighting for MLS Cup. There you go. Here's your 8 teams, your great 8. Have fun.
Listen, Garry, I wish they had 2 leagues, East and West, and then the top 2 teams in each league play each other at the end.
I mean, I would love to see that too. I mean, and the NASL has such a format.
Okay.
I mean, you play your Western Conference counterpart sparingly, but the top 2 teams from each conference, East, West, for the soccer bowl. That's what it was.
There you go.
Yeah. East, West. There you go. Just like the old school, in Major League Baseball with the World Series. AL, NL.
You could have a Eastern League Shield and a Western League Shield. And those shields would mean a lot more than the shield means now. But go ahead. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so that's okay. Let's talk predictions, boys. Starting with the Chicago match. How do you see this going, Lanre? You're second in the standings, by the way. As far as you're second in the standings, as far as how many matches you got right.
Really?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
That's a miracle.
Yeah, yes, you are. Marcus is first. But go ahead. You got a chance to overtake Mark now. Go ahead.
2-0.
2-0.
W. 2-0 W.
All right. Miguel?
We're going to win, Gary. Backs against the wall time.
Backs against the wall?
Yeah, we have to win. They're going to get it done. Okay?
Give me a score.
3-0. Tommy Barlow hat trick.
See, now you're messing with us. See, now you're messing with us. Okay.
You wanted me to give you a score. Why not?
Okay. Okay. No, it's on the record. Okay. It's on the record. This is one of those matches where hope I'm wrong. Okay. I'm not going to predict a loss. I'm going to predict a draw.
Oh my God, Gary, please.
I'm going to predict a draw.
Defeatist.
No, I'm not going to be a defeatist, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
I'll tell you why. It all depends on how they start. Okay. That's what I'm going to be looking in the first 15, 20 minutes of the match. It's how they start. If they start like a house of fire, if they start, they're facing a desperate club. They need to be even more desperate, okay, to beat them. Okay. This was a scenario when they faced Austin FC. Austin FC came in as a desperate club that they needed points. They got one. Okay. To your point, Lanre, they cannot not start off on the wrong foot in that match. They really can't. Chicago with Key Kamara and of course Shaqiri, they're no joke. Okay, they're no joke. They can score. Okay, they can score. And if you don't hold those, you don't hold those boys in check, they're gonna do that. On top of everything else, okay, we lose a defender for this match. Sean Nealis picked up another yellow card.
Oh, what?
He's out
for
this match.
Wasn't someone else out? Wasn't Edelman? I think Edelman is out as well.
I think he is.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Because we are not looking. Hold on. Yeah. Looking at the yellow cards. Sean Nealis. That's it. Sean Nealis.
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, Sean Nealis. Sean Nealis picked up. He was one away from a suspension again.
Okay.
Of course.
So he's not. So that means Big Haas is going to have to step up.
There we go.
Can I revise my prediction? No, I'm not gonna revise my prediction.
Which means
try and body
yeah.
Oh, you know what? Dylan Nealis can come in and play center back in a pinch. There you go.
There you go.
Yeah, and have Kyle at right back, right?
They might have three guys in the center. It might be Dylan Nealis, Big Haas, and the Colombian guy. What's his name?
Reyes.
Yeah, Reyes. Yeah, I always forget that.
So Nealis is going to be cheering on his teammates from the sidelines because that's where that's where he's going to be, because unfortunately he picked up a yellow, and this is why I'm saying it's going to be a 1-1 draw, because you just lost a very big piece on set pieces, and meanwhile they got two of theirs, and it stinks. And the game that they must win, this is where they're at. So, man, what an episode. I mean, we had a lot of, fantastic, from James Briel. Thank you so much for joining. And for all of you who joined us tonight, we appreciate you guys. the support has always been fantastic. So that next year. Next week, we have the coach, Mark Coates, and of course, Lanre, who is also doing extended duty because Carlos is doing some personal stuff. So he'll be back soon. So yeah. As for all of you, remember, go ahead, Miguel. Go ahead. We got about a few seconds.
Up the Arsenal. Thank you. Okay.
Up the Arsenal. You had to get that in. Yeah, you had to get that in, didn't you? As always, remember, this is your show, and we strive, the gentleman and I strive so hard to make it one of the best ones out there. If you have any hot takes, questions, comments, suggestions, it's NYRBDG, the podcast at gmail.com. Please drop a line. We'd love to hear, what you guys think. We love to, any suggestions you might give, because as they say, and we'll say it again, it's your show. And for that, we want to thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you guys next week. For Lanre Badmus and, of course, Miguel Nunez. Thank you guys for joining us. We'll see you then. Until good night for now.